An alien girl species needed heat to mate, and the human was her fire. The wind howled like a wounded creature, hurling ice crystals against the reinforced windows of Frontier Research Station Epsilon 7. Commander Darian Reyes watched the storm rage, his fingers tracing the condensation forming intricate patterns on the thick glass. Another rotation in this frozen wasteland, another day of monotonous surveillance. He didn't notice her arrival at first. The station's airlock hissed, releasing a cloud of steam that momentarily obscured the entrance. When the mist cleared, Liari Soren stood motionless, her presence both delicate and extraordinary. Her skin shimmered with a soft, pale pink luminescence that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Translucent white hair cascaded past her shoulders, moving with an almost liquid grace that defied the station's artificial gravity. Her eyes, a deep, luminous blue, scanned the room with an intensity that made Darian's breath catch. "Commander Reyes," she spoke, her voice a melodic whisper that seemed to resonate within the metal walls. "I am Liari Soren, xenobiological liaison for the Interstellar Alliance." Darian straightened, years of military training kicking in. "Welcome to Epsilon 7, Ambassador Soren. We weren't expecting." A sudden tremor interrupted him. Liari swayed, her luminescent skin flickering from pink to a pale, almost translucent white. Her hands, delicate with elongated fingers, reached out to steady herself against the nearest console. "Are you all right?" Darian moved quickly, instinct overriding protocol. Liari's response was a sharp intake of breath. "The storm," she whispered, "it's disrupting more than just communications." He watched, confusion mounting, as she seemed to grow progressively weaker. Her skin's luminescence dimmed, the vibrant pink fading to an alarming pale hue. Sweat beaded on her forehead despite the station's carefully regulated temperature. "The environmental controls," Liari murmured, her voice growing faint. "They're insufficient." Darian's training had prepared him for countless scenarios: hostile alien encounters, medical emergencies, communication breakdowns. But nothing could have prepared him for this moment. Liari was collapsing, her body temperature dropping at an alarming rate. "Emergency medical protocol," he began, reaching for the communication panel. "No," Liari's hand, surprisingly strong, caught his wrist. "No medical intervention, it won't help." Her touch sent an unexpected jolt through Darian. Her skin was ice cold, yet there was an electric current of something more, a connection that transcended physical touch. "I don't understand," he said, helping her to a nearby chair. Liari's luminescent eyes locked with his. "My species," she explained, each word a visible effort, "we require external heat during our vulnerable cycles. Not just warmth, but a specific type of thermal energy. The storm's electromagnetic interference is disrupting our biological harmonics." Darian's military mind raced. Biological harmonics, external heat. This was far beyond any first contact briefing he'd ever received. "What do you need?" he asked, something primal and protective rising within him. A weak smile crossed Liari's lips. "Direct body heat, skin contact, it's how we survive, how we bond." The implications hung in the air between them. This was no simple medical emergency. This was a fundamental biological imperative that challenged everything Darian understood about interspecies interaction. Outside, the storm intensified. Ice pellets struck the station's exterior like tiny missiles, a counterpoint to the growing tension inside. Liari's breathing grew shallow, her luminescent skin now almost transparent, revealing intricate, web-like patterns beneath. Darian made a decision. "We're going to get you warm," he said, his voice steady despite the complexity of the moment. As he moved closer, Liari's eyes, those deep, luminous blue eyes, watched him, not with fear but with a mixture of vulnerability and something else. Something that spoke of trust, of a connection that defied the boundaries of species, of worlds. The storm raged on, a silent witness to the beginning of something unprecedented. The interstellar transport vessel Horizon Breaker hummed with a soft, almost imperceptible vibration. Liari Soren stood near the observation deck, her phosphorescent skin reflecting the distant starscape in subtle, shifting patterns. Her fingers traced the transparent barrier, memories of the ice planet and her unexpected salvation replaying in her mind. Darian Reyes approached, two steaming mugs of synth tea in hand. "Luminarian blend," he said, offering her one. "Took some negotiating with the ship's synthesizer to get the temperature and mineral balance right." A hint of pink pleasure rippled across Liari's skin. "You didn't have to," she said, accepting the mug. Her fingers brushed his, that same electric connection sparking between them. Their journey from Epsilon 7 had been anything but typical. The emergency thermal transfer that saved her life had created a biological resonance neither fully understood. Diplomatic protocols felt like thin paper between them now, something fragile, easily torn. The Alliance Council wants a full report, Darien said, breaking the silence. His voice carried an edge of tension. They're uncertain about what happened on the station. Liari's skin shifted to a more complex pattern, layers of lavender and silver intertwining. Uncertainty, vulnerability. What happened between us isn't something easily explained in a report, she said softly. Their connection defied scientific categorization. When he had held her during the storm, skin to skin, more than just body heat transferred, something deeper. A resonance that vibrated at the molecular level, bridging the vast genetic differences between their species. The ship's communication system chimed. A holographic display materialized, showing Ambassador Nolan from the Interstellar Diplomatic Corps. His face was a mask of careful neutrality. Commander Reyes, Ambassador Soren, he began, we require a comprehensive debriefing upon your arrival at Central Station. Darien stepped forward, his military posture automatic. We've submitted all initial reports, sir. A thin smile crossed Nolan's lips. Not all questions have been answered. The thermal transfer protocol you employed is unprecedented. Our xenobiological team has significant questions. Liari's skin flickered a rapid dance of white and pale blue. Anxiety, protection. The transfer was necessary for survival, she said, her voice calm but firm. My species' biological needs during our vulnerable cycle are not a matter of diplomatic negotiation. Nolan's hologram shifted, revealing a data overlay. Classified files, redacted sections. Your species has been part of the Interstellar Alliance for less than 3 stellar cycles. There are protocols, procedures. Darien felt something rise within him, a protectiveness that surprised even himself. Ambassador, he interrupted, with all due respect, Commander Soren's life was at risk. The action taken was within emergency protocol guidelines. The hologram flickered, tension crackled like static electricity. Liari's hand found Darien's, her touch sending a wave of calming energy through him. To the outside world, it might have seemed like a simple gesture. But between them, it was a complex communication, part biological imperative, part emerging emotional connection. We will provide a full report, she said, her voice a melodic compromise. But the nuances of our interaction cannot be reduced to clinical observations. Nolan's hologram dissolved, leaving behind a sense of unresolved tension. They'll keep pushing, Darien said, turning to Liari. Her skin rippled, a beautiful, complex language of its own, determination mixed with something softer, something that spoke of connection beyond words. Let them push, she responded, her luminous blue eyes meeting his. Some boundaries are meant to be crossed. Outside the observation deck, stars streaked by, distant, infinite, watching. The diplomatic conference hall of Lumina Prime stretched before them, a vast chamber of crystalline architecture that seemed to breathe with living light. Liari's homeworld pulsed with an ethereal energy, its architecture a seamless blend of organic complexity and technological precision. Darien stood beside her, feeling conspicuously out of place. His standard-issue diplomatic uniform seemed harsh and angular compared to the flowing, luminescent garments of the Luminarian delegates. Around them, the political elite of multiple star systems watched with barely concealed curiosity. Stay close, Liari whispered, her hand brushing against his. A subtle communication passed between them, part warning, part comfort. Her skin rippled with intricate patterns of pale blue and silver, a language of emotion that spoke volumes beyond words. The primary speaker, Counselor Voran, stepped forward. His own skin, a deeper shade of pink than Liari's, shifted with calculated precision. The matter of interspecies biological integration remains a complex diplomatic challenge, he announced, his voice resonating through the chamber's living acoustics. Darien felt the tension mounting. Their previous encounter, the survival bond formed on Epsilon 7, had become more than just a personal connection. It was now a political fulcrum, threatening to upset decades of careful interstellar diplomacy. A holographic display materialized, showing molecular diagrams of their thermal transfer. Scientific precision met raw, inexplicable connection. The images revealed something the researchers couldn't fully comprehend, a biological synchronization that defied existing understanding. Commander Reyes, Counselor Vorin addressed him directly. Your thermal intervention during Ambassador Soren's vulnerable cycle raises significant questions about cross-species protocols. Liari's hand tightened almost imperceptibly on Darian's. Her skin flickered, a complex language of defiance and protection. The intervention saved a life, Darian responded, his military training providing a calm veneer. Isn't that the primary consideration? A murmur rippled through the assembled delegates. Some skin patterns shifted to deep crimson anger, others pulsed with a soft green curiosity. Counselor Vorin's skin shifted to a calculated pale yellow. Diplomatic neutrality. Our concern extends beyond a single life. The biological bond you've initiated challenges our entire understanding of interspecies reproduction and diplomatic engagement. Liari stepped forward, her luminescence intensifying. Our connection is not a diplomatic problem to be solved, she said, her voice a melodic challenge. It is a living testament to the possibilities of understanding. The chamber fell silent. Darian watched her, realizing how completely she had transformed since their first encounter. No longer the vulnerable being he'd rescued, she was now a powerful advocate, her very existence a bridge between worlds. A secondary diplomat, Representative Curl, activated another holographic display. Genetic mappings, biological compatibility charts, theoretical projections that danced with mathematical precision. The thermal transfer, Curl explained, has created a genetic resonance we've never witnessed before. Your biological systems have begun a form of adaptation. Liari's skin pulsed, a mixture of vulnerability and strength. Darian could read her now not just through visual cues, but through a deeper, almost telepathic connection that had formed between them. We are more than our biological differences, she responded, her hand still connected to Darian's. We are a possibility. The diplomatic challenge was clear. Their connection was more than a scientific anomaly. It was a living challenge to centuries of rigid interstellar protocols. As the debate continued around them, Darian realized they had become something more than individuals. They were now a symbol of connection, of potential, of bridges between seemingly impossible worlds. The conference hall continued to pulse with living light, watching, waiting. The underground rebel stronghold vibrated with tension. Exposed circuitry and makeshift communication arrays created a labyrinth of technological desperation. Darian moved silently, his military training a whisper of precision in the cramped space. Liari followed, her phosphorescent skin carefully muted to a near-invisible gray. The connection between them had evolved beyond physical proximity, a telepathic resonance that allowed them to communicate without words, to sense each other's movements with impossible accuracy. The diplomatic accords are a facade, whispered Joran, the rebel leader. His skin, a weathered slate gray, bore the marks of multiple resistance campaigns. The Interstellar Alliance is preparing to implement genetic segregation protocols that would effectively isolate species from meaningful interaction. Darian's hand found Liari's. Their fingers intertwined, a gesture that had become both personal and political. The genetic mapping from our thermal transfer, Liari said softly, it threatens everything they've built. A connection they can't control, can't categorize. The rebel base was a testament to resistance. Holographic maps showed multiple star systems, each marked with potential points of diplomatic failure. The Alliance's latest proposals weren't just bureaucratic, they were a systematic approach to maintaining species isolation. Joran activated a secured communication channel. Fragmented transmissions revealed the depth of the threat. Genetic interaction zones, restricted movement protocols, biological quarantine measures that would effectively prevent any meaningful cross-species connection. They fear what they cannot understand, Darian muttered, years of military conditioning warring with the deeper connection he now shared with Liari. Her skin pulsed, a momentary flash of vibrant blue that spoke of defiance, of hope. Our connection is more than they can comprehend, Liari responded. Her fingers traced a complex pattern on a nearby communication panel, bypassing security protocols with an ease that spoke of her own hidden capabilities. Suddenly the base erupted in alarm, proximity sensors triggered, external threat detected. Alliance pursuit teams, Joran said, his voice calm despite the imminent danger. They've tracked our communication signatures. Darien moved with practiced efficiency, accessing weapon systems. But Liari's hand on his arm stopped him. Her touch carried a different kind of power, a biological resonance that could disrupt electronic systems. We fight differently, she said. The first Alliance drone burst through the outer barrier, but instead of metal and weaponry, it simply stopped. Its systems flickered, then died. The biological interference they generated, a side effect of their unique connection, created an electromagnetic disruption unlike anything the Alliance had encountered. More drones approached, each one failed, systematically, completely. They cannot contain what they do not understand, Liari said, her luminescent eyes meeting Darien's. Joran watched in silent amazement. The rebels around them looked at Liari and Darien not just as individuals but as a living weapon, a possibility, a hope. Outside, the pursuit continued, but inside the rebel stronghold something more profound was happening, a connection that transcended species, a resistance written in the very fabric of their biological existence. The night stretched before them, full of danger, full of possibility. The uncharted sector of space stretched before them, a canvas of infinite darkness punctuated by distant stellar formations. The experimental vessel Horizon's Edge hummed with a quiet intensity, its experimental quantum drive pushing the boundaries of known interstellar travel. Darien stood at the primary navigation console, his fingers moving with a precision born of years of military training, yet everything had changed. He was no longer just a commander, he was something else, something more. Liari approached, her phosphorescent skin shifting in intricate patterns that mapped their shared journey. The bond between them had become more than a biological connection, it was a living testament to possibility. We're approaching the dimensional threshold, she said, her voice a melodic blend of scientific precision and intuitive understanding. Their escape from the Alliance's pursuit had been more than a physical journey. It was a transformation. The rebels they'd allied with had provided more than just a temporary sanctuary, they'd given them a path. A quantum drive experimental enough to take them beyond known space, beyond the reach of systems that sought to categorize and control. The ship's communication array flickered. Distant transmissions, fragmented, desperate spoke of the chaos they'd left behind. The Alliance was scrambling. Their connection had become more than a personal bond. It was a fundamental challenge to existing interstellar protocols. They'll never understand, Darien said, turning to face her. Liari's skin pulsed a complex language of emotion, lavender for determination, silver for hope, a soft blue for the connection they shared. Understanding requires vulnerability, she responded, something they've forgotten. The quantum drive began its final sequence. Around them, reality seemed to bend. Starlight stretched, space itself became malleable. Their biological connection, the thermal transfer that had started everything, had evolved. They were no longer just two beings from different species, they were a bridge, a possibility. Memories cascaded, the frozen research station where they'd first connected, the diplomatic halls that had tried to contain them, the rebel stronghold where they'd discovered the true extent of their power. Are you certain? Darien asked. The question was unnecessary, their connection transcended verbal communication. Liari's hand found his. The touch was more than physical, a complete synchronization of biological systems, of consciousness, of potential. There are no certainties, she said, only horizons. The quantum drive reached critical resonance. Outside, space itself seemed to fold, stellar formations blurred, the known universe became a distant memory. They were becoming something new, something unprecedented. A final transmission crackled through the ship's communication array. Alliance coordinates, pursuit vectors, diplomatic warnings. Darien's fingers touched the communication panel, deleted. Liari's skin pulsed with a final, brilliant configuration, a color no human classification could name. Hope, defiance, possibility. The horizon's edge pushed forward, into the unknown, into a future they would define. Beyond boundaries. Beyond species. Beyond everything they had been told was possible. Infinite.